Um, so good morning, everyone. We are now formally starting our webinar. Reading and writing is a form of literacy, but we are now in the 21st century world, and being able to read and write alone is not enough. Due to the advent of technology, new literacies were introduced in order to address different issues in life and in the society. Sonia 2004 defines media literacy as the ability to access, analyze, evaluate, and create messages across a variety of contexts. It is very important that we, as a society, enable to facilitate and acquire knowledge, skills, and abilities to use today's information and communication technology effectively and safely. Especially, plagiarism and copyright has been rampant nowadays in doing students' research or activity. ThinkandConnect.co established this webinar to educate students about media literacy and its importance, as well as on how to avoid plagiarism and copyright. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to the attentive participants of media. I am Christine Joy and A. Crisostomo, your host for today's meaningful event, together with my co-host,
William M. Magarzo.
ThinkandConnect.co is very much grateful and pleased to conduct this media literacy webinar entitled
Media
Media
Literacy
Literacy for
for Global
Global Education, and with the theme
Fighting
Fighting Misinformation and Disinformation Through Media Literacy.
The people behind this are all excited to welcome you in this humble endeavor.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, let us feel the presence of our Almighty God as we offer Him a song of praise, and let us show our respect to our national flag as we sing the national anthem through audiovisual presentation.
Dili kita na ibalo kung asa ang kagaw kay sili ng pinakita. Kung bisan pa nga kung bulan ka na ng bakunahan, ayaw pagsalig na luwas ka na. Makakit ang tanan. Kinaot na kung nakisay ka ngayon nakapunahan di kanina ng mga pulo.
Just a little housekeeping before we start our webinar. Please turn off your microphones to avoid unnecessary noise during the presentation. If you have any question during the presentation, you will type them in the chat box in your Gmeet control panel. We will bring your queries at the end of the discussion. We have time to answer your questions after the discussion. This would be the time that host may ask you to open your microphones and cameras. Now, without further ado, let us start our event.
To start with our first topic for today, let us listen to our first speaker for this event presenting about fake news. I hope you will have the energy and enthusiasm to sustain our today's event. Let us welcome the ever-supportive, creative, and social media influencer and also a vlogger, Mr. Jensen Peñalosa. A round of applause, please.
Thank you so much, Miss Crisostomo, and to our beloved host, Mr. William Magarso. Thank you so much for introducing me and also my topic. So my topic for today's presentation is about fake news in the world of media literacy. So before I start, I would like to give you some words that may be related to my topic for today. So the first word is media. Yes, it is very prone to us, like media. There are a lot of types of media, such as media in as a person and media as an application. For example, of media as a person is like to those I know that familiar kayo sa ABS-CBN, GMA, TV5 na may mga media such as reporters and like mga reporters and interviewers such as that. And media also, like as an application, we are prone to that, like we are using social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. And also the second word, fake news. Yes, as the main topic for today's discussion, today's presentation, fake news is rampant nowadays, right? Like we gathered information and we didn't know what is true from wrong, right? Like we are experiencing a lot of information, or like we are encountering information na hindi naman totoo, and that causes fake news to the process of communication. And the third one is literacy. Yes, when we say literacy, it is a combination of it is a combination of the word and the ability to write and read, and that is the essence of literacy. So now let's proceed to our main topic, which is the introduction of media literacy. Before we start with the first variable, at the main variable. So media literacy, as it is described, it encompasses the practices that allows people to access, yes, critically evaluate and create or manipulate media. As a media literate, we consider, like we have to you have the ability to access, critically evaluate, and create or manipulate media. See, when we say access, like marunong ka kung paano gumamit ng media. And as I've described media earlier, like there are some social medias that kung marunong ka niyan, you are a media literate. And also if you are observant sa mga different medias, you can be considered as a media literate also. And if you are really know how to create or manipulate media, you can be considered in the essence of the media literacy. So next is also this, it is ability to identify different types of media, as what I've said, 'di ba? Kailangan nating if marunong kang mag-identify ng different types of media, kailangan din nating mag-understand kung ano yung message na sinesend o message na information na ating kinakalap, 'di ba? And it is the essence, or it is the very main point of the topic, media literacy. So let's proceed to the next slide. I mean, the next definition. There are the text messages, memes, viral videos, social media, video games, and advertising, and more. In the world of media literacy, there it is rampant nowadays, or like it is timely used. Text messages, memes, mas pinapaniwalaan natin yung mga ganito, di ba? Kasi ito yung ginagamit natin araw-araw, especially like Facebook. May mga maraming memes doon na talagang nagbibigay informasyon pero hindi natin alam kung totoo yan. Same as the viral videos. The next slide, please. So ito na, ito yung main topic ng presentation ko. So what is fake news? Lagi nating tinatanong sa sarili, what is fake news? Alam ba natin kung ano yung fake news sa totoong news, di ba? So yes, let's proceed. Fake news, as it described, is any article or video containing untrue information disguised a credible news source. Yes, maraming mga articles, maraming mga videos, hindi lang videos, siguro mga pictures or mga different sites na nagdi-disguise like as a news source na hindi naman totoo, and it consider it as a fake news. Second one is typically comes from sites that specialize in bogus or sensational stories. Yes, and when we say bogus, it is like fantasy, a fictional stories, just like that. Nanggagaling ang fake news sa mga sites na like fictional, sensational stories, and mas like ito yung mga karaniwan nating ginagamit pang araw-araw, and that would be the start of fake news, as what we have said. So also stories that look like real news stories but are hoaxes, propaganda, and disinformation. Ito yung lagi nating tatandaan na fake news is made as like propaganda, as a disinformation. When we say propaganda, is like blackmailing someone, or like we are using fake news to harm others' reputation, to harm others' life, di ba? Hindi lang reputasyon ng mga nasisira ng fake news, pati na yung life ng isang tao, sa mismong tao, by simply spreading the fake news. So let's proceed to the next slide, please. Ito, growing problem in recent years about fake news. So most fake news comes from websites. Yes, we all know that. As we are living in this technology era, like we are using different social platforms like Facebook. Yes, it's innate to us, and etc. And di natin alam kung totoo ba yung nakakalap nating impormasyon doon. And it comes from more on the website. Less librarians who traditionally taught research skills. Ito yung isa sa mga problema din ng by like we are experiencing in a modern era, technology era. And like hindi na natin nagamit yung libraries. And parang hindi na natin parang hindi na natin pinapakita na okay lang kahit sino basta librarian, pero the very basic skill to be a librarian is to have a research skill. And hindi na natin yon napapakita because nalalagay sa isip natin na yung Google is nandun na lahat, nakikita na doon lahat, and it's very efficient kung doon tayo pupunta, hindi sa library. And that causes a growing problem in the recent years. The third one is people are gullible and can't distinguish real news from fake news. I'm sorry for the spelling of gullible. It's like Gulllible. Like gullible means like you are persuaded with a wrong information with a non-credible source. That is the meaning of gullible. And can't distinguish real news from fake. lagi tayong kumukuha ng impormasyon. Lagi tayong nakakita ng impormasyon such as like yung sa memes, viral videos, and like text messages. Hindi natin alam kung totoo ba 'yan. And we will be described as a gullible person kasi hindi natin alam kung tama ba 'to, kung tama bang kinukuha nating impormasyon o hindi. The next one is truth was stranger than fiction. Ito yung pinakagusto kong pinakagustong description with like sa growing problems in recent years. Truth was stranger than fiction kasi parang lang yung isang pagmamahal bale yung ikaw totoo ka sa isang tao. Like totoo ka sa isang tao, totoo yung pagmamahal mo, pero yung taong mahal mo is mas pinipili yung mga manloloko, di ba? We're like adapting kung ano yung mas nakakahalina, dun tayo eh. And we don't know kung sino yung totoong magmahal or sino yung totoong may intention sa'yo, and you can distinguish kung like ito ba yung tamang tao, and napipili mo yung maling tao just because of like a fake news also. We can relate that into love kasi. So yeah, next slide please. Ito. Why spread fake news? Lagi nating tinatanong, bakit ba tayo nag-spread ng fake news? O siguro, hindi natin natatanong kasi hindi natin alam kung yung nag-i-spread tayo ng mga news na hindi naman totoo. Like, yes, yun. So, as it described, it answers to make big money or businesses. Yes, it's very rampant. It is very timely sa atin ngayon. Like, to those streamers, di ba? Hindi lang sa streamers, and sa lahat ng mga tao dito sa mundo na gumagamit ng technology, ng media, and like they wanted to spread fake they wanted to make big money by simply spreading fake news na like especially like advertisement, di ba? And or businesses. The next definition please. Abstract audience I mean attract audiences and advertising revenues. And by as like in the world of businesses, yung pera natin ay yung pera ng mga businessman also nakikita sa mga tao, 'di ba? And we need to attract audiences para kumita ng big money. And also advertising revenues. Next, please. Harm someone's reputation. Yan ang lagi kong sinasabi sa inyo. Yan lagi kong pinapaalala na kapag nag-spread ka ng fake news or nakakalap ka ng information at binigay mo sa iba, it causes harm to someone's reputation. Hindi lang talaga reputasyon, pati na rin yung buhay ng isang tao pwede mong masira, 'di ba? By simply spreading that fake news. So consequences, like consequences in spreading fake news. Fake news sometimes gets more views than real ones. Ito, totoo to. Kasi I know lahat ng mga nandito is na-experience yan through pag scroll sa Facebook, pag sa YouTube, like any different social media platforms. Like hindi natin alam kung yung nakikita natin is totoo. And yung mga hindi pa totoo, yun pa yung mga maraming views, and yun pa yung mga naaani ng tao, and it causes to fake news and causes to the barrier of fake news. I mean the barrier of communication. So sometimes politicians and professional journalists even quote the fake news stories. Totoo to. And like politicians, siguro sa politicians, nag-spread sila ng fake news just to harm others' reputation. Like sa ibang party list, di ba? Ito yung ginagamit nila as propaganda. Yan yung pinaka-essence ng Like sometimes, di ba, ginagamit ito ng politicians. They spreading fake news to simply harm others' reputation para maging like manalo sila sa isang election or some leadership like leaderships, mga ganyan. And also professional journalists, nag-quote sila ng mga fake news stories just to maybe they wanted to uh, to gather sympathy, to gather viewers, as it was uh, like as it was described in the past slides, di ba? Kailangan umaani tayo ng pera by simply gaining audiences, and that would be the consequences if we are quoting fake news stories, di ba? Even though like politicians and professionals, journalists. Sometimes people engage in illegal and violent behavior as a result of believing a fake news story. Pagpalagay na natin na may dalawang taong nag-uusap, ganyan. And ang isa is nakakalap ng totoong impormasyon without knowing na totoo talaga to. And yung isa is, isang tao is nakakalap ng impormasyon pero mali yung nakalap niyang impormasyon. And kapag nag-usap sila or like nag-argue sila, it may cause or it may result to pag-aaway, di ba? And you can harm someone by simply believing sa kung ano yung nakalap mo without determining kung totoo ba yung nakalap mong impormasyon. And it's like, ito yung consequences kung magkakalat tayo ng fake news without knowing na fake news ito. So, next slide please. Ito, how to spot fake news. Di ba? Paano natin malalaman kung fake? Fake ang isang bagay. Like, fake ang isang article na kinukunan mo. Like, fake yung video na pinapanood mo. Di ba? So, by simply determine where the information comes from. I always said that sa mga viewers natin na lagi nating tatandaan yung tanong na how to spot fake news by it is simply determining where the information comes from. Kung totoo ba yung source, like may naghahanap ka ng isang RRL sa yung research, and you need to find some related or credible, legitimate source para sa isang para ma-spot kung totoo ba or fake news yung isang bagay. Yes, examine the sources cited. Ito, does the story cite in quote credible source a person with a last name in a title such as, I know you are very familiar sa mga naka-experience ng research, di ba? You all know like referencing like APA format or different formats in referencing. Just we need to include or find some related person or like first name, last name, and title such as Mark Grabowski, professor at Adelphi University, or Nicholas P. Episcopia, mayor of Garden City. Proceed to the next. If not, or they use anonymous sources such as vague references to sources such as source said, according to reports, according to friends, and family says, ganito, ganyan, and etc. And we need to be suspicious kasi hindi lahat ng ganyan is totoo. 'Di ba? Kailangan natin magkalap, and to determine or to spot fake news, we need to determine where the information comes from. Popularity doesn't equal to reliability. So yun, sorry. When we say popularity, siguro yung mga taong famous, 'di ba? Especially sa social media platforms, mas nagiging kapanipaniwala yung mga taong sikat, 'di ba? Yung mga top ranking on Google doesn't mean an article is trustworthy. Yun. Like, you are basing sa popularity and you are not basing sa credibility ng isang article na kinukuha mo. And that would be the isa sa mga dahilan kung bakit maraming fake news na kumakalat. And just because it's trending on social media doesn't mean it's trustworthy. Fake news stories often get more views than real ones. Yun. I always said na mas yung mga popular person na kalat ng impormasyon, kung sino pa yung yung maling impormasyon na binibigay, yun pa yung kumakalat sa maraming tao, and it causes fake news also in the process of communication, as it is a barrier, considered as a barrier. So proceed to the next slide. Utilize fact-checking sites. Ayun. Fake news stories that go viral often exposed. Yun. It says the same in the past slide. Yun. Like kung sino pa yung hindi totoo, yun pa yung nagva-viral. But fake news lists are often wrong. Yes, it's true. It's very true. It is very timely true. Like, you are very familiar sa Wikipedia, di ba? Pwede mong sorry, ma-edit yung kung ano yung pwede mong ilagay doon. And nakakadagdag lang siya ng problema in regarding fake news, kasi kung naglagay ka ng impormasyon doon, like inedit mo yung isang article na yun, it causes, it's opinionated and walang saktong basihan, and it causes vandalize with false information. And ito yung simula ng fake news. A communication professor created a fake news list. Ito na yung lagi kong sinasabi, like, minsan ito yung good thing ng fake news eh. 'Di ba? Bakit tayo nag-spread ng fake news? Just para umani ng mga viewers. And as a professor, created the fake news para umani ng mga viewers. Ito yung good thing ng pinaka-good thing ng spreading fake news. Nagkalat siya ng fake news para umani ng viewers, para maikalap niya yung kung ano yung totoong impormasyon na gusto niyang isiwalat sa isang manonood o sa mga taong naghahanap ng ganitong impormasyon. Ginagamit lang ang fake news para kumalap ng audiences, hindi para mag-harm sa others' reputation ng tao. So ito, final advice sa mga researchers dyan, sa mga what you call that, sa mga naghahanap ng mga kasagutan. You must be like nakikinig ka sa mga news tips. Ito yung pinaka tips like kung parehas dito sa mga inilahad ko sa inyo, we need to apply para hindi tayo maloko sa mga taong nagkakalat ng isang impormasyon. So next one is keep updated. If you are a journalist or if you are a journalist or a researcher, you must be keep updated para hindi tayo makalap ng information na hindi naman totoo, reliable and credible. So yun yung advice sa mga researchers ganun, o sa mga naghahanap, o sa mga taong hindi na-apply kung ano yung fake news sa hindi. So ito, real one versus fake one. And next, ito sa picture na to, picture to, hindi to isang like fake book. Stop getting yun. This is a picture. It is a representation kung ano yung magagawa ng isang fake news. Like dahil sa filter. As you can see sa ikalawang picture, filterated na siya, 'di ba? May mga words na hindi nababasa, pero nababasa pa din siya, pero may mga words na hindi natin medyo nakikita. Then kapag umabot sa point na like filterated na talaga siya, marami ng mga stories, mga fake news, hindi natin nababasa, 'di ba? As you can see sa picture na natin, pag nilagyan natin ng other filters, and it causes sa mga taong nakikinig, sa mga taong naghahanap ng impormasyon na makakalap ng maling impormasyon, and mau-cause ng yun na nga, yung lagi kong sinasabi sa inyo, na makaharm sa reputasyon ng isang tao. So yun, thank you so much, and that would be the my presentation about fake news. And I hope you've learned different like the definition itself about fake news. And so hindi na natin hindi na tayo maglalaro ng like some games kasi medyo ano na tayo overtime. So that would be all, and thank you so much for listening.
Okay, thank you very much for meaningful discussion, Mr. Peñalosa. Now we will cater some questions. So if may tanong kayo, just type it in the chat box. I think wala namang tanong, so now let's proceed to our next speaker presenting about all me tickets.
So thank you for your wonderful explanation about fake news, Mr. Panyalosa. As a responsible netizen, we should know or how to criticize information that we get from the internet if it is true or not. Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in Mathematics. He is a multimedia enthusiast and also a social media for today. Mr. Gandhi Kabote. A round of applause, please.
So hello, good morning to each and everyone. My name is Gandhi Alcabote. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Ma'am Crisostomo. So today we are going to talk about social media etiquette. Now, as what the previous speaker have said, media generally refers to various means of communication, right? Like television, radio, newspapers, magazines, emails, and messages. Now, what is a social media? So, the social media is a computer-mediated technologies that allow the creating and sharing of informations, ideas, career, interests, and other forms of expression through virtual communities and networks. So, what are these virtual communities and networks? For example, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, and etc. There are a lot of virtual communities and networks. So next is, what is etiquette? Now, etiquette is the familiar code of polite behavior in society or among members of a particular profession or group. Like for example, before you approach someone, you will have to say hello, hi, good morning, good day, good evening, or good afternoon. Greeting someone before you ask them what you need. Closing remarks. Using proper grammar, spelling, and using please and thank you. Break a leg, or that is commonly used in theater to wish someone good luck. So next, while growing up, most of us were taught to mind our manners, right? Our parents and grandparents were teaching us social etiquette. So from the beginning of having this common sense, we are taught, right? We are taught about social etiquette on how we respond to people and how we act towards people, di ba? So they did it so we would know how to behave in public and not to embarrass them in front of others. Like, unsa man ang anak ni Marites, oy, magdita makayo lain magbatasan di man kabalo mo tagad, right? So that kind of expression by others is a very big embarrassment to the name of the family. Now, next, now being on social media, we now need to learn and practice social media etiquette. So social media etiquette may sound like something you need to practice before, or something you need to practice, right? Because in this 21st century learning, everything now is involved with media. Like in today's circumstances, every students are required to pass their assignments through virtual communities. Like for example, Gmail, Facebook, Messenger, right? Now, what are the importance of social media etiquettes? So why is it so important to follow them? Also, There are 6 reasons to answer this why. First is is show empathy. Social media etiquettes make you more empathetic towards others. Using etiquettes on social media encourages you to put yourselves in people's shoes, and in doing so, it gives you a better understanding of their requirements and needs. So on social media, you need to show some empathy, and to do so, you need to learn how, right? So next is be focused. Etiquettes on social media help you focus on what's important and what's not. By behaving professionally or being colloquial rather, depending on social media platform you are in, you will achieve your goals and focus on the main goal. Like for example, on the last speaker, Mr. Johnson have said that there are a lot of fake news circulating the media. Especially, he highlighted the phrase that fake news is more famous than the truth, right? Fake news is now being the fake news is viral, yet the truth is not even spread like to 8,000 of people. While fake news, fake videos, fake informations move to a million views, the truth remains below 10,000 views, maybe, or probably 1,000 views only. So we need to be focused on what is right and what we are doing on this social media platform, so we would know how to achieve our goals, right? On why we are here on these social media platforms. Now, why is it important? The third one is strategic thinking. Good etiquettes on social media reflects closely on your strategic thinking. When you have a specific goal in mind for using social media, all your etiquette for social media will contribute to converting your strategies into measurable, tangible achievements. Now, next is be productive. Without the right strategies, it can be quite difficult to produce the desired results. And using etiquettes like your tone, type of content you post, strategies you use, the time you post, and etc. will leave a lasting impression on people and make your content more productive. Now, I know everyone is very familiar to this, let's say, experience. Like, this is common to the vloggers, YouTubers. They tend to be productive, so they have to make a good image on the social media world. Like, for example, if the content of their videos is informative, their social media accounts should be also informative, right? Because it's too ironic to see the influencer to have a to to see his profile or news feeds feeding with bad informations, like that creates bad influences to students or even young ones, because even a 5 years old kid no. So the fifth one is learn from your mistakes. No matter how good your manner and etiquettes are, mistakes are inevitable on social media. There is no one recipe for flawless communication on media or social media platforms. Use a combination of etiquette on social media platforms to help you avoid them and improve your chance of succeeding. So if you have done one mistake on social media, everyone will criticize you. Like for example, uh, a person tends to express his emotions or her emotions on Twitter more often than the personal, right? because Twitter is now a what do you call that? Her or his place where he could or she could do whatever he wants or say whatever he wants. Now, the sixth and the last one is empower your staff. Now, when etiquettes are followed on social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc., by s- by students, they help in promoting your brand, right? When someone from your staff posts content safely on their social personal channel, they end up advocating your brand. Like uh, a producer of, I not a producer, like a social influencer, like let's say the BTS, the BTS meal on the McDonald's. So they are just promoting it. And in order to promote it, they have to build a good image to the people on social media so that when they promote something or some products, the people will be, let's say, the people will be convinced because they have a good image on the social media world. Now, having said this, social media etiquette is more about what it feels right. If it feels right and expressed and conveyed in the right way, you and I already making use of these etiquettes without consciously thinking about it. Because no, because most of these days, even a 6 or 7 years old child knows how to rant on social media without etiquettes. So, with that said, they end up uh, they end up saying bad things to other people's personal lives. So we need to this we really need to know what the social media etiquettes are, because we as an elders to the young ones need to also need to teach them what and how to act on social media, because they don't even know how. They just followed what they saw on social media. Now, let's proceed to 10 tips for proper social media etiquette. First is don't be a cyberbully. Of course, the very first rule of social media etiquette emphasizes the importance of being polite, right? The worst thing about being online has to be internet trolls. Uh, these internet trolls are those people who create dummy accounts and tend to with an intent to destroy some people's personal lives by posting it on the social media. Now they sit at their computers talking trash. They say things online that they would never to say to a real world or to a real person's face. Now don't try to ruin everyone else's online experience because of your real life social issues. Second is people should know who you are. Your social media profile should be complete. Photos are a good start. Now your picture shouldn't be a logo. We don't need logos at parties, do we? Now the logos can be a part of picture, however, your face should be included as well. Also take your time out to complete all about your informations. First impressions are important and lasting. And don't forget that. Third is don't be too quick to judge. When meeting individuals online, try striking up a conversation, getting to know them a bit before you jump to judgments about who and what they are. Relationships matters. Start building good ones is very important. Now, as what the previous speaker have said, fake news circulates the social media world more than the truth, right? So let us be mindful of this third rule. Don't be too quick to judge. Always look for the source of the articles you might encounter on social media platforms. Always look for the source. And if that source is not credible, then that means that that information is not also a credible, not unless supported by credible sources online. Now, fourth one is don't abuse your networks. Use your network the right way. Don't post how your day is going all day on Facebook. Excuse me, I'm sorry for that. If you must share, Facebook would be more appropriate for those types of updates. To be honest, no one really cares on what you do, right? But you just want to post it. It could be to brag to others, or you just want to show them your day on what are you doing or what made you happy, right? And if you must, post things like tips, advice, or quotes you find important. So if you have time, try to post some informative posts like uh, let's say informative posts like you have kaning looking for jobs, something like that. Next is keep personal and business separated. Now, this is important for any professional on social media. This way, you can avoid posting everything about your life to your professional networks so that you shouldn't mix business and pleasure. Now, because in today's uh, in today's setting, all of us are involved in social media, right? So we should know when to and how to act like a professional one and when to not to act a professional one. So that depends on what social media platforms we are using. Now, next is be accountable. People online say and do whatever they please without facing consequences. That doesn't give you the right to behave in any kind of way. If you are accountable for your actions, people will respect you, whether they agree with you or not. Like social media influencers on Facebook, let's say on the gaming platforms, whatever they say and whatever they do, they are always supported by their supporters. Like for example, ako si Doggy, influencer on Mobile Legends. And I know most of us know him, right? So, what does he do? Everything he posts online are followed by millions of people. So, he should know how to be accountable of his actions. Next is match the right content to the right network. Like for example, Twitter is a fast-paced social media platforms. You may see 140 character limit to a roadblock, but it can actually help you post direct, clear messages. Catchy tweets packed with stars, fun facts, or questions can help catch the eye of your followers. So photos can also help break up the tweets and to help you stand out to others. Next is Facebook. Has more room for content, but this doesn't mean that your posts should be paragraphs long. Aim to keep your post punchy to the point, or let's say brief, but also leave the readers wanting more. The eighth one is be mindful of the only reputation you're creating. Ninth is build consistency. So you want the images that appear on your social pages to be consistent with the image others have of you, right? So use the next one is the bulletin board rule. Before you hit and post or send, ask yourself if you would be comfortable posting it on the bulletin board at the office. Remember that. If you wouldn't be comfortable, then don't hit post or send because that means it's not a good thing, right? Now, next, your personal brand is an important part of your professional reputation. So be intentional. Or our personal brand is an important part of our professional reputation. So we must be intentional to it. Digital Using proper social media etiquette will help to ensure that the digital footprint that we are creating is positive. In that way, others might see or might follow our. So if others might see and follow our tracks, we are influencing them, the good ones, and not the bad ones. So one thing we have always to remember is once we put it out there, it is never going away. Not unless we will delete it right away on on a second on 1 second post. Now, if someone wants to find out something about you, Google, Yahoo, and Bing are a couple of clicks away. So it is very, very one call away, let's say. Now, social media etiquette is for everyone. If someone posts contents without giving much thought to it, it can cause some serious damages to that person. So, for instance, sending out offensive tweets or on Twitter or engaging in aggressive online debates on platforms like Facebook can bring embarrassment to the individual and the brand on the whole. So professional, business, or an employee or social etiquettes are for everyone, even the students. Now, but the rules for each of them differ. For instance, someone who owns a company will have to follow a different set of more stringent rules than someone who is an employee of a business, because these business owners need to impose an image, a strong image to the let's say consumers, so that their business will be supported by a lot of investors. Similarly, someone who is handling a business account will have to follow a different set of rules on social media platforms, so that they would have to follow for their personal account. So when a consumer is browsing on social media about someone by searching it on social media platforms, he will have a lot of information about him, about his good image and not the bad image. So we must always be mindful about the social media etiquettes because as as I have said earlier, the moment we have gained our common sense, our grandparents, our parents always taught us etiquettes on how, right, on how to act properly towards others, and that also applies to social media world. And that's it for today, and thank you everyone for listening.
Um,
Thank you so much, Mr. Cabote, for your wonderful discussion. Okay, except from being nice and personal, we need to control our attitude and characteristics also in the social medias. So thank you everyone. Let us now proceed to our last speaker for our webinar event.
so our last speaker for our webinar will be discussing about plagiarism. Introducing our last speaker, He is also from the top producing competent school of Davao del Norte State College with a course of Bachelor of Secondary Education major in mathematics. Aside from that, he is a media literacy advocate and a blogger. He is also the vice president of thinkandconnect.co. Let us welcome Mr. Manny Akdal.
Okay, so good morning everyone. So what I am going to discuss with you is all about plagiarism. So plagiarism, it is an act of using another person's words or ideas without giving credit to the person. It is according to Merriam-Webster in 2016. So from the phrase itself, person's words, so pangungopia ng idea ng author. Like, for example, the author said that the path of error is the path of truth whenever it is recognized. So if you copy that quote in your essay without citation, then it is plagiarism. It is exactly plagiarism. And also, another person's idea. So if you copy the author's ideas, bisan pag i-paraphrase nimo, but the same ideas, and then wala ka nag-cite sa sources, then it is also a plagiarism. So there are a lot of, or it is wide about plagiarism. So to steal and pass off the ideas of words or another as one's own. So pagpangawat o pagkuha og mga information sa author nga walay permission. So it is plagiarism. To use another's production without crediting the source. So like for example, sa case ni Marvin Gaye o ni Robin Thicke, di ba? Naikanta si Marvin Gaye in 1977, which is the Got to Have to Do It. And then, ang tone niya, which is gicopy ni Robin Thicke in 2013, which is the title Burned Line. So, gicopy niya. So, nasakpan sa family ni Marvin Gaye nga gicopy ang tone sa kanta niya. So, ilang gikasuhan si Robin Thicke, which is dili lang kay ang plagiarism kay gaan lang siya or kanang pwede ra nato baliwalaon, but plagiarism is bugat ni siya nga anang sala and punishable by the court of law. And then to commit literary thief, umtong gana pagpangawat og mga literary works, artworks, and etc. To present as new and original an idea or product derived from an existing word source. So like manguha ka essay sa net and then ibutang nimo sa imong essay. And so ang hitabo kay mura nimo gi-present nga imuha tong idea ang essay gikuha nimo siya as imuhang idea, and it is a plagiarism because wala ka nag-cite og sources. So much better nga every time magkuha ta og information or ideas sa internet, we should put sources or citations. So next is taking over the ideas, methods, or written words of another without acknowledgement and with the intention that they be taken as the work of the deceiver. So it is according to American Association of University Professor in 1989. Okay, so plagiarism has been traditionally defined as the taking of words, images, processors, structure, and design elements, ideas, etc. of others and presenting them as one's own. So, mo to siya pagpanguha and then i-present mo as imuha. It is often associated with phrases such as kidnapping of words, kidnapping of ideas, fraud, and literary theft. So, plagiarism can manifest itself in a variety of ways and is not just confined to student papers or published articles or books. So, mao na siya. And then, the fact is that plagiarism manifests itself in a variety of situations, and the following examples are just a sample of the many ways in which it occurs and the types of consequences that can follow as a result. So, dahan kay mga examples of plagiarism like if you are a scientist and then nagkuha kang idea sa another scientist, tapos dili pa siya wala pa siya na proof as a common knowledge, and then imong gi-present tong idea niya with imuha pong idea, so gi-combine mo yung ideas sa imuha na wala ka nagbutang og sources or credit sa atong lahi nga scientist, then it is also a plagiarism. And then now we will be focusing on the academic plagiarism. So in the next slide, words and ideas really can be stolen. So makawat ba ang mga words and ideas sa lahing author? According to the law, the answer is yes. In the United States and many other countries, the expression of original ideas is concerned intellectual property and is protected by copyright law, just like original invention. So, like mga libro, di ba? Kanang mga libro is originally wrote sa author. So, it is called intellectual property. Imuha na. And then, pag imuha na siyang i-publish, then protected na siya sa copyright law. So, pag mangawat ka og words sa libro, phrases, sentence, nga wala ka nag-identify sa author, wala ka nag-cite, wala ka nag-quote, labaw nag-word for word ang imuhang pagkuha, and then, it is a plagiarism and punishable by the court of law. So, all of the following are considered plagiarism. So, turning in someone else's work as your own. So, mo ito pagpanguha sa uban as imuha. So, copying words or ideas from someone else without giving credit. So, mo ito siya. Manguha ra ka og ideas and words na wala ka nakatalog credit sa author. Failing to put a question in quotation marks. So, wala kay mga quotation marks bisag word for word ang imuhang pag-copy. And giving incorrect information about the source of a quotation. So, nagbutang ang quotation pero mali-mali ang information sa author, di ba? So, useless lang gyapon. Changing words but copying the sentence structure of a source without giving credit. So, di ba kanang pareha lang ang sentence structure, imo lang gipang ilisdan ang word. Diba? Mostly nahitabo gini sa labaw na sa atong high school life, like pag manundog ta, like ilisdan lang ang word, mangita lang synonym, and then butang ra, so maura. So, naragyapan ang sentence structure, so it is a plagiarism. Copying so many words or ideas from a source that it makes up the majority of your work, whether you give credit or not. So, bisan pag itagaanin mo credit ang author sa imong gikuhaan, pero sa imong work, majority kay ideas sa uban. Wala nag-dominant ang imong ideas, like 80% ideas sa lahi ng mga author, 20% ay imong ideas. So, mali ra gyapon. So, in our next slides, we will talk about types of plagiarism. So, what are the types of plagiarism? So, as you can see, the ghostwriter, the photocopy, the potluck paper, the poor disguise, the labor of laziness, the self-stealer, and the other one is the forgotten footnote, the misinformer, the too perfect paraphrase, the resourceful citer, and the perfect crime. So kinsa ning si the ghostwriter. So, mostly, students are ghostwriter. It is because this type of students are turns in another's work word for word as his or her own. So, mo ni sila ang mangapi like word for word nga pagka-plagiarize, like bisag kuan pa na, bisag unsa pa na dia, word for word yun nilang pagka-copy. So, mo ni sila ang the ghostwriter, like inon sila teacher nga wrote about what essay about what is math, and then nag-search sila sa Google, search sila, and then type sila what is math, then copy paste nila, and then mo siya pasa na dayon, di ba? So mo na siya ang the ghostwriter. So next is the photocopy. So kinsa meaning photocopy? So the writer copies significant portion of the text straight from a single source without alteration. So like for example, gipaano sila og atong what is math, they say, and then ang search sa net, nakita siya og article. Sa first paragraph, iyan gi-copy ang kuan, ang article copy and paste. And then sa second paragraph, wala niya gi-copy and paste. Pagka third paragraph, mo na po ito yung copy and paste. And then sa fifth paragraph na po, mo ito yung copy and paste. So, portion yung pagka-copy. But, copy and paste talaga po siya. So, wala siya gi-usab, but copy paste na po niya tanan. Like, first paragraph, third paragraph, and fifth paragraph, mo ito yung copy and paste sa iyahang work. So, it is you are the photocopy. So next is the potluck paper. So kinsa meaning potluck paper? So the writer tries to disguise plagiarism by copying from several different sources. Like for example, like ato, what is math? Ipahimo mo sa inyong teacher kung isay about what is math. And then nag-search ka, pulo ka book imong articles na gibasa, pulo. And then sa pulo ka articles, nanguha ka tag-isa ka paragraph. So, isa ka paragraph, duha. So, nakay 10 ka paragraphs. And then, imong gibutang sa imuhang paper. So, di ba, you are a potluck paper. Tweaking the sentences to make them fit together while retaining most of the original casing. So, nanguha lang kang daghan kayo, ikan sa daghan po na sources. Imo lang di sumpay-sumpay kay para ma-fit siya as a sentence. Then you are a potluck paper. So, when can we say nga, poor disguise ta nga plagiarize? So, although the writer has retained the essential content of the source, he or she has altered the paper's appearance slightly by changing keywords and phrases. Like for example, the research, like sa amuang research, ang amuang keywords or mostly ginagamit sa namo is preferred learning style. And then, naay manundog sa research. And then, katong preferred learning style, ila tong lahion ang keywords, which imo nila preferred learning strategy or unsa pa. But same lang ang thought of idea. So, you are up for this guys. Inausab lang nimo ang mga keywords or mga common nga nagabalik-balik sa sentence. But then, ginakopy nimo ang mga the content, the structure, and etc. So, mao na siya. See, for this guys. So, when can we say nga labor of laziness? So si labor of laziness, yun mo na siya updated version ni for this guys ay ni potluck paper, di ba? Si potluck paper kay nanguha lang kag paragraph sa pulo ka sources, then imong gibutang sa imuhang paper. So na kay 10 ka paragraph. Well, si labor of laziness kay katong pulo ka sources na imong gipanghuha, imo tong gipang paraphrase. Paraphrase to nimo like pulo nga imong gikuha. Si first paragraph, i-paraphrase nimo sa second to 10, ipang-paraphrase nimo, but wag gyapon ka ng cite of source. So, you are called a labor of laziness. And then, the next one is the self-stealer. So, kaning self-stealer is also called as self-plagiarism. Gi-plagiarize nimo ang imong work. So, pwede ba na? So, yes, it is a type of plagiarism. So, pwede ka mag-plagiarize sa imong self. So, muna siya si self-stealer. Like, for example, like now, among thesis ron is about preferred learning style. Pag magmasteral ko, ang ako ang research gamiton, kay kato akong thesis sa college. So, pwede kong kasuhan og self-plagiarism. So, I am a self-stealer. So, yes, possible na siya. Next is the forgotten footnote. So, the writer mentions an author's name for a source but neglects to include specific information on the location of the material reference. This often masks other forms of plagiarism by obscuring source location. So, sa forgotten footnote, nag-cite ka og name sa author, pero name lang, walay date, walay unsa yung title sa research, wala kung kano sa niya gi-publish, wala tanan. Nag-igo lang ka, nagbutang lang siyang pangalan sa references, di ba? So, mali na Japon. And then next is the misinformer. So, kinsa man ni si misinformer, mo ni siya ang writer provides inaccurate information regarding the sources, making it impossible to find them. So, nagbutang ka dito sa imong reference nga akdal, but pangalan sa libro, and then ang pangalan pag sa libro kay namali nimo. Tapos walay publication, walay date, walay lugar, walay school, or unsa pa. So, kung ikaw reader ato nga research, malibog ka nga, mali niya gikuha nga pagtanong sa reference, mali man, dili man ako ma-search ang author, dili na ako ma-search ang libro sa author, ang work sa author. It's because you are a misinformer. Nagpataka na ka og butang og reference. Yes, nagbutang kang sources pero nagpataka ka. So, next one is the too perfect paraphrase. So the writer properly cites a source but neglects to put in quotation marks text that has been copied word for word or close to it. Like, for example, in your research, nagbutang ka sa references o tama kayo, like na si author, na ayang works, na tama kayang references, and then pag-copy po nimo kay word for word, okay lang to, tama ang references, but i-paraphrase nimo, but tama lagi ang references, tama ang pagka-cite, pero ang pag-copy nimo word for word. So, kung mag-copy ka og word for word, you need to quote, dapat i-quote, mag-put ka og quotation marks. Tungod, word for word siya, mo na siya ang essential or kanang very kanang main nga idea sa author. So dapat naka-quotation na siya. And then si too perfect paraphrase mo to siya, wala ka naka word for word ay naka word for word ka pero wala ka nag-quotation. The next is the resourceful citer. See, the writer properly cites all sources, paraphrasing and using quotations appropriately. So kani siya, like for example, yes, ay mohang essay, labot mo essay. And then, how kay ka gi-paraphrase nimo ang idea sa lahing nga author, perfect kay pagka-paraphrase, how kay pagka-cite, how kaayo pagka-butang sa mga references, tama tanan. Pero 100% pod wala kay ideas nga nabutang, puro naka paraphrase like 100% isa ka idea wala kay na impart sa imong paper, nanguha ra ka tanan mga ideas sa lahing author wala kay imuha. So mao na siya si resourceful citer. So plagiarism lang gyapon na siya. And then see, now is the perfect rhyme. So kani si the perfect rhyme is like isa lang imuhang source, tapos sa iyahang first paragraph gi-paraphrase nimo, and then take ka like paraphrase, and then sa reference nimo gi-cite nimo siya iyahang words and etc. And then gi-copy na po nimo ang iyahang third paragraph, tapos sa imong reference wala na nimo gi-identify nga pag-identify nimo first paragraph then gi-copy, wala nimo gi-appeal na po si third paragraph. So and then it is also a plagiarism. Mo na siya ginatawag na perfect rhyme. So simply put, next slide. So simply put, plagiarism is the use of another's original words or ideas as though they were your own. Anytime you borrow from an original source and do not give proper credit, you have committed plagiarism and violated the US copyright law. So mo siya like pagpanguha o idea sa uban nga wala ka nakahatag og credit is a violation by the court of law. So now let us discuss what are copyright laws. So copyright laws exist to protect our intellectual property. They make it illegal to reproduce someone else's expression or ideas of information without permission. This can include music, images, written words, video, and variety of other media. So mo na siya ang copyright law, which is I discussed kanina nga. Intellectual property is mo na siya ang property nimo as like if you have music, so mo na yung intellectual property ang music, book mo na siya, and then protected na siya sa copyright law basta imo na siyang i-public, i-release, or isa pa. And then at one time a work was only protected, so sa una protektado lang na ang imong intellectual property pag makita mo tong logo niya nga C, ito yung C tapos may circle, pag nalagay nga to mo to ang protected sa una. But karon bisag wala to, basta na-publish lang na nimo, then it is protected by the court law or the copyright law. So anyone who reproduces copyrighted material improperly can be prosecuted in a court of law. So source or dili ka mag properly nga properly cite, then pwede ka makasuhan. So and the next slide. So ang facts ba be copyrighted? Be copyright. So facts. So what are the facts? Diba daghan kay og facts nga naay fact nga copyright og naapoy facts nga dili. Like for example, like carrots has vitamin A. So this is not a result of a research. And then pwede ko dili kuha og source, ay pwede ko dili mag-cite og author ato. It's because katong nga statement like carrots it has a vitamin A kay dili siya result sa research. So pwede lang ko dili mag-cite og authors. But pag ang fact kay resulted siya sa research, like for example, ano ang author sa yung research nga mobile games can enhance someone's intellectual thinking skills. So ano siya, and it is result of a research. So kailangan ako siya mag-cite of author. It is because kung gingon ka ganina nga resulted siya sa research. And then do I have to cite sources for every fact I use? So no, you don't have to cite sources for facts that are not the result of unique individual research. Mao to siya nga kung individual research siya na fact, so kailangan mo mag-cite. Pag dili siya research, pwede ka nga dili lang mag-cite of author. So does it matter how much was copied? Yes, mag-matter yun kung pila mo copy. Like for example, sa imong research, nag-copy ka o gamay kay nga phrase, isa lang ka phrase, tapos wala ka ng cite to author, so pwede gyapon ka makasuhan. And then sa under sa court of law, mas bugat kung mas daghan ang imong kikapi nga walay kay citation, mas bugat ang imong punishment. Kung gamay lang, then less na pwede mo punishment. But then punishable gyapon siya. So, but can I use material if I cite the authors? You are allowed to borrow ideas or phrase as long as mag-cite ka og mag-provide ka og sources. So, as a rule, however, you should be careful about borrowing too liberally if the case can be made that your work consists predominantly of someone else's words. So, mo to siya kailangan gyapon nga og mag-copy ka og manguha kang supporting ideas, kailangan mas mag-dominant gid ang imong idea sa imong work. Like sa essay dapat og pa-explainon mo og what is math, dapat mas mag-dominant ang imong experience about math og imong kaalam about math sa imong supporting ideas. Dapat imong supporting ideas kay like 30% lang, 40% lang, and the rest 60% or 70% kay imong ideas. So para maka-avoid ka og plagiarism. In the next slide, so what are the punishment for plagiarism? So sa may punishment, well, daghan og punishment ang plagiarism, but mag-focus lang ta sa academic punishment. So what is academic punishment? So academic punishment, most colleges and universities have zero tolerance for plagiarists. So di na sila di na nila pasagdan ng mga plagiarists because college kay critical kay like thesis, di ba? Di ka pagpataka og uhag mga ideas sa laing author nga wala ka nag-cite og tarong. And then the nature of the offense determine its status. So when plagiarism takes place in an academic setting, it is most often handled by the individual structures in the academic institution involved. So first yun ang mag-ano yun sa imo kay imong instructor, like pwede ka niya like ibagsak or wala kay grade sa imong quiz, or essay man to wala kay grade sa imong essay, o research to pwede ka niya ibagsak or expel sa klase or i-drop sa iyang subject is because you plagiarize. So nga naka-critical ang state universities and colleges. Now we will be discussing the public domain. So ano yung connection ni public domain sa plagiarism? So what is the public domain? So works that are no longer protected by copyright. So kung na to maingon nga dili na protected ang intellectual property ni copyright. So like music, pwede ba na ako nga makapit tong music like sa una? Yes, pwede. So how do I know if something is public domain or not? Like ang music, like once ang music is 75 years old and above, pwede na nimo kopyahon, pwede na nimo kopyahon ang lyrics, pwede na nimo kopyahon ang tone. It is because public domain na siya, dili na siya protected sa copyright tungod sa iyang tigulangon sa intellectual property. So that is public domain. So pwede na ka mag-kopya na, di na ka mahadlok sa batas, di ba? Kay di naman siya protected sa copyright law. So how do I know if something ano siya? So pag 75 years na ang literary work, like research, 75 years na ang research, so pwede na to nimo siya nga like mangopya na lang ka, pero valid na ba nga outdated naman kaayo, di ba? So you should be wise in getting the ideas of another. So in the next slide, so what is citation? And then citation is the way you tell your readers that certain material in your work came from another source. So di ba? Citation mo na siya nga na it is a sign nga katong mga ideas kay dili imuhabat sa laing sources. So mo to siya mga supporting ideas. So it also gives you like for example, pag mag-cite ka dapat na ang information sa author, title sa work, name and location sa company nga pag-publish sa copy of the source, date sa copy nga na-publish, page numbers of the material you are borrowing. Like sa akong dated lesson plan, ako ang primary source kay libro, and then sa akong references gibutan ako dito nga only page 55 to page 88 lang ang ako ang gikuan sources. So nga na siya like mag-specify ka kay dili man entire libro ang imong gikuan og ideas, like page lang man, pages lang man, series of pages. So Ganun kailangan in the next slide. So, why should I cite sources? So, ngano kailangan man ako sa mag-cite og sources? Of course, para maghatag og credit sa original author. And it is the only way to use others people work without plagiarizing. So, mo lang siya ang kanang only nga way nga pwede ka mag-copy sa lahi nga author sa mga ideas nga wala ka na plagiarize because you cite sources. So citations does not citing sources make my work seem less original. So not at all. So on the contrary, citing sources actually helps your reader distinguish your ideas from those of your sources. Like for example, in the research, sa imong first paragraph, butang ka dito, pangalan sa lahi ng author. So, it is clearly nga, dili to imong ideas. But after atong nga paragraph, imuha nang gisumpay, o wala na yung author naka-indicate, it means that imuha tong idea. So, ang reader, pangbasa, iyahan yung idea. So, okay siya. So, mo niyang results yung research. Tapos katong first paragraph sa lahi itong author, sa lahi itong research. So, ma-identify o ma-distinguish sa readers sa mga research na okay, mao ni hang original na idea ug mao ni hang mga supporting ideas sa iyong research. So ana siya. So mo na kailangan nato mag-cite og sources para makita ang authenticity sa atuhang work. Okay, so how do I cite sources? So kung saan man mo so magdepende na siya. It's either mangutana ka sa imong depende na siya kung unsay mong ginabuhat, the type of work you are writing o expectations sa imong instructor. So, kung essay lang, pwede lang references or in text, di ba? O research, so kailangan na itong na mga APA format o mga unsa pa to MLA format or etc. Di ba? Critical ang research. Pag essay lang, so pwede lang ni may pangutana sa imong instructor or teacher nga sir, unsa mo ang anong way pag-cite or unsa mo ang style sa pag-cite. So, ano siya, mangutana lang ka. So, in the next slide, we will be discussing about quoting materials. So, what is quoting? So, taking the exact words from original source is called quoting. You should quote material when you believe the way the original author expresses an idea. So, mostly, kaning quoting, mo ni siya ang mga, like, pas katakong gingon kagaya na nga, if error is corrected, whenever it is recognized, the path of error is the path of truth. So, muna siya kung mga anak, like mga quotation. So, kailangan ganun siya put ka no quotation mark because word for word ang imuhang pagkuha sa idea. Di ba? Pag once yung word for word, quotations gano'n imuha, dili lang ka kay magbutang lang ka sa references, butang tunong sa references, ay nga, si kaning author ng ingon ato, sa word for word imong pagkuhan ba, sa word for word imong pagcopy, sa references lang ka nag-cite, dapat naka-quotation mark siya, and then naay pangalan sa author and the date kano sa atong yagi ingon nga ideas. And then, the next slide, how often should I quote? So, in your essay, di ba, dapat infrequent lang yun as possible. Dapat dili tanan. Sige lang kag-quote kay tungod nang kag idea ng word for word, di ba? Nag-dominant na ang idea sa lahing author kasi mga idea. So, dapat, like, mag-quote lang ka, like, sa tunga lang, o sa end lang ba, o sa sugod ba, ana lang imuhang pag-quote, dili kay quote sa sugod, mag-quote ta ka, sige na mag-quote, diba, mo idea na, wala kay idea tungod, if mag-quote ka, it means that idea to sa lahing author, so, kung sige lang kag-quote niya, wala na yung original ideas, which is plagiarism na siya. So, how do I incorporate quotations in my paper? So, saan mo siya pag butang o quotations sa imong papel? So, most of the time, you can just identify a source and quote from it. So, first, so, notice lang yun nga, like mag-quote ka o quotation. So, ibutang lang nimo, butang lang quotation marks, and then, pangalan sa author and date. So, ano lang ka-simple. And then, butang din ka sa reference with the specific information. So, in the next slide, we will be talking about quoting within quotes. So, that is, it is called embedded quote. So, like for example, in the original passage by John Archer Ridge, the mountain coyote has been described as a wily and single-minded predator by zoologist Emma Warner. So this first sentence is not embedded quote, but in the second sentence, as you can see, like in the di ba na siya double quotations, and so wily and the single-minded na siya one quotation. So mo siya pangyatawag na embedded quote. So the mountain coyote, a coyote has been described as a wily and single-minded predator by zoologist Emma Warner. So nga na siya pag quoting within quotes or embedded quotes. Okay? The next is citing sources. So what is citing sources? So citing sources kinani siya documentary note style of arithmetical style. So citing sources na-discuss na ko sa kagaina. And then, now we will be discussing the documentary note style. So kabantay mo ano mga pag search mo pag mga ideas sa Google, di ba, ay nakabutang ng 1, like sa first paragraph ay nakabutang 1, and then ano po nakabutang 2, ay nakabutang 3, kaya may mga numbering, mo na siya ang ideas na siya sa mga lahi ng author. So mga siya ang documentary ng style, like kanang 1, lahi na siya ng idea, lahi na siya ng author, ang 2, lahi na po na siya, so lahi na siya. Then mo na siya itong natawag na documentary ng style. Si parenthetical style, mo na siya katong mga like Akdal 2016, mo na siya mga apelido, apelido lang ito yung naka-parenthesis sa apelido and then date mo na siya ang parenthetical style. So in the next slide, so how can we prevent plagiarism? So students' resources. So in a research paper, you have to come up with your own original ideas while mga po daw mga supporting ideas. So first is consult with your instructor. Okay, the next slide please. First, consult with your instructor. So, ano ka sa'yo, hindi ka kabalo mag-cite of sources, pwede ka mangutana sa instructor. Kabalo ka, pero kabalo, unsay expectation sa teacher ko, unsay ang gusto nga style. So, pwede ka mag-ask sa nga style, like documentary note style or parenthetical style. So, nga na siya. And then, plan your paper. Dapat kabalo ka kung unsay tumong sa inyong paper. Dapat kabalo ka, mangwa sa sources. Diba, kabalo ka tanan. Planado na siya tanan. And then take effective notes. So ipansulat nimo kung unsa to mga website imong gipangbutang, imong gipangwaon site sa mga libro, sa mga authors kay para pag abot sa references dali na lang ka kabuhat og sources. And then when in doubt, cite sources. So pag dili ka sure nga sabi siya public domain bali nga idea, public domain bali nga literary kay di na lang kung sources. So pag dili ka sure sa imuhang dili ka sure sa ideas, mag-cite lang yung sources, di ba? Para iwas plagiarism. So, next is make it clear who said what or who said that. So, dapat klaro kung kinsa niyon. Like, for example, duha ang author, like, Tom and Jerry said that mobile games can affect students studying, sa ana. And then, sa imuhang reflection or sa imuhang research, nangingon ka nga, he said that mobile games affect studying. So kinsa man nga he, si Tom or si Jerry, di ba? So dapat mas specify ka kung kinsa sila hang duha or sila bang duha ang nag-ingon ato. So dapat clear kung kinsa nag-ingon. So know how to paraphrase mo na siya kung hindi ko gagaina. Kailangan kabalo ka sa kon pag-paraphrase, like kung ano mong idea sa lahing author. Tapos imong i-paraphrase. How do kayo pagka-paraphrase, tapos, etc. Pero wag ka man size ng sources, so, plagiarism magyapon. So, para ma-avoid to, mag-paraphrase ka, so, kabalo ka mag-paraphrase, at the same time, cite yapon mo ang sources because, dili to mo ideas to sa laing author. Ang imo lang gibuhat, dilahi lang mo ang words, o ang structure sa sentence, but then, ang ideas, guys, sa lahi yapon ng author. So, kailangan mo mag-cite of author. So, and then, evaluate your sources. So, di ba sa internet daghan og mga dili valid nga sources. So evaluate nimo kung unsa to nga sources ang legit o dili mo kapatakag kuang ideas nga ang author kay makakaila or dili siya legit nga author. Okay? So on the next slide, which is the last one, is the intentional plagiarism. So nagin mahitabo gyud ning anang wa kabalo ay nag-plagiarize sa day ko ana gani. So katong ginatawag nga citation confusion. So perhaps the most common reason for inadvertent plagiarism is simply an ignorance of the proper forms of citation. So, kabalo kung kinsay mong i-cite kay, di ba, mura siya ka ng common knowledge, pero nagyo siya specific mo, pero kabalo kung kinsa to nga author. And then, mag-result siya sa citation confusion. And then, plagiarism versus paraphrasing. So, many students have trouble knowing when they are paraphrasing and when they are plagiarizing. So, in an effort to make their work seem more original, by putting things in their own words. So, di ba, paraphrase nila kahit tuod, pag tuod nilang ang paraphrase kay, ano na siya, dili na siya plagiarism, but it is a plagiarism. So, next is, as I was just copying my notes. So, students often mix their own ideas and those of their sources. Like for example, isulat nilang idea, ang main idea sa katong author, sa lahi na po ng author, ilang main ideas. And then, nasabot niya ang tulo ka ideas, nasagol niya, pag sulat niya sa paper, wag nabuo niya ang ideas sa tulo ka, sa duha ka author kang iyang ideas. So, and then, that is what we call unintentional plagiarism. So, waka kabalo, kung plagiarism right or dili. So, next is, I could not find the source. So students are often sloppy about writing down the bibliographic information of their sources, leaving them unable to properly attribute information when it comes to writing the paper. So, mo na ito siya. So, dito na makita ang source, di ba? So, dapat, para ma-avoid ning unintentional plagiarism, dapat kabalo ka sa source mong gikwaan. Okay? Then, next is, I thought we didn't have to quote facts. So, diba na ay mga facts nga katakungingon ngayon nga research and na ay fact na dili resource. So, katong fact nga research other than pwede nakadili. And then, confusion about expectations. So, students may not be aware of what properly research requires. So, they may think they're being asked simply to report critically, commentary, or borrow from a number of sources to show that they have done their homework. So, pataka lang sila kuwag mga ideas sa uban niya para mahumanan nila ang ilang assignment. So, that is an intentional plagiarism. So, I think that would be all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for literating us on how to avoid plagiarism, Mr. Manny Akdal. So, now, we hope that everyone has attained meaningful knowledge and information about media literacy. But before we proceed, we prepared a short video about media literacy. Now, let's watch this.
Every day, we spend 8 hours exposed to different forms of media. We practically live with it. It keeps us entertained, informed, and opinionated. Media influences us through news headlines and information we see online, on TV, and hear on the radio. It creeps into our daily lives subtly and subconsciously through magazines and advertisements that create and recreate standards of success, beauty, and living. To movies where we are exposed to violence, fantasy, and crooked ideas about love. Even the music that enters our ears are part of media's influence. And every day, our brain processes all these sorts of information from a variety of sources. And sometimes we no longer wonder whether the information we receive is true or not. We believe it right away. We react to it right away. We no longer are watching what enters our minds. We no longer think twice before we respond. We no longer can identify ourselves from what influences us. Yes, media brings people together. It can make us laugh, think, consider. It can make us feel right. But if we're not careful, it can also fill our minds with false information and can make us confused and upset. It can affect our thinking, even the things we desire and who we eventually become. So how can we guard our minds? How can we train ourselves to evaluate and filter information from media? We can spare a lot of assumptions by simply verifying information. The answer to that is being media literate. Being literate is simply taking a step further, digging a little deeper, considering a little longer, and thinking a little harder about the information we get from media. Because what you expose yourself to affects you. Be media literate. Guard your mind, guard your life.
Okay, thank you for um, that presentation. Now let us hear from Mr. Jean Leonard Adam Piloto for giving us information on one of the noble course offered by the school.
Uh, Thank you, Mr. William. So, by the way, I am here to tell our viewers, especially to our senior high school students, that the Davao del Norte State College is offering bachelor and secondary education major in mathematics, and it is very interesting and suitable for all freshmen. And now I am going to introduce to you our goals and objectives about the said course. On our slide, we have three phrases. And the first one talks about mathematics majors will learn and maintain basic knowledge in the core disciplines of mathematics. This phrase claims that teachers' mathematical knowledge plays an important role in this teaching of subject matter. In particular, we focus on teachers' mathematical knowledge for teaching, which includes both the mathematical knowledge that is common to individuals working in their diverse professions and the mathematical knowledge that is specialized to teaching. Then the next phrase is all about mathematics majors will be able to understand and explain mathematics on their own. This goal simply defines mathematics as the universal language, meaning it is the one language of the world that is universally understood across different cultures, countries, and languages. One of the basic example for this is the arithmetic, in which we can usually ask for 1 plus 1, then it is definitely equals to 2, right? So, but if there is someone who tells 1 plus 1 is equals to 11, so just ignore them. Actually, this goal talks about having competitive individual acquiring mathematical learnings. All right, we are now on the last phrase, which is mathematics majors will be able to find work in their field of interest or receive admission to a doctoral school in mathematics. According to Katie Kim, math is needed for almost every single profession in the world. If you want to be a CEO, a state agent, a biologist, or a rocket scientist, it is without a doubt that numbers will be utilized. Basically, you will never be able to escape math. You might as well accept it and have fun learning and while your career doesn't depend on it. And now, for the next slide, we're going to talk about the objectives of bachelor and secondary education of uh, mathematics majors. Uh, the first one is students in the program will understand deeply the mathematics they will teach in the future. This phrase talks about that students who wants to develop their mathematical proficiency, teachers must have a clear vision of goals, of instructions, and what proficiency means for specific mathematical content they are teaching. They need to know the mathematics they teach as well as the horizons of the mathematics, where it can lead and where their students are headed with it. And the second one is students in the program will develop in content appropriate lessons using national and state standards for mathematical education. So now this is talking about content standards. The content standards are the main political tools of standard-based reform. They define the breadth and depth of valued knowledge that students in mathematics are expected to learn, and they are intended to reduce the curriculum disparities existing across schools and school districts. Thus, content standards for mathematics education are not simply a list of important knowledge and skills of mathematics. Rather, they are visions of what curriculum should include in terms of content priority and emphasis. Then the third one is students in the program will use technology to expand opportunities for students' mathematical thinking in an appropriate and responsible manner. In this program, we integrate technology to deeply understand the concept of mathematics. We are given the opportunity to enhance our skills towards solving problems in math using technologies such as ICT, PPT, online applications, and etc. So we are now on the fourth one. It talks about students and the program will find information about the cultural, historical, and scientific evolution of mathematics through a variety of events. At this stage, students are free to gather information about the history of mathematics, the evolution from different countries, the beginning of understanding the concept of mathematics. Also, it digs deeper the authentic foundation of mathematics in which they can spread to their younger generation. And now we are on the last objective, which talks about students in the program will learn to use their mathematics and pedagogy knowledge flexibly in authentic situation through fields experiences under the supervision of highly qualified, experienced teachers and university supervisors. So this program provides meaningful experiences to teach mathematics in a certain school while learning. It is not just about learning mathematics, but also it gives opportunity to develop the skills as a future educator through practicum under the supervision of highly qualified experienced teacher and university supervisor. So, all right, that's all for our goals and objectives. If you are interested, don't hesitate to enroll to Davao del Norte State College or any tertiary schools who caters bachelor and secondary education major in mathematics. Can't wait to see you freshies.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peloto. As one of the students under this course, it is indeed provides fulfilling feelings knowing that we someday will hone competent individuals for the better days of the future. Mathematics is very fun. Um, ThinkandConnect.co would like to extend our deepest gratitude for those participants who attended for our webinar. We would like to give you all the certificate of participation in attending our event. And I read thinkandconnect.co certificate of participation is given to name of participants in recognition for attending and participating the webinar with the theme Media Literacy for Global Education, Fighting Misinformation and Disinformation through Media Literacy on 25th of June 2021, 9 a.m. via Google Meet. Signed by yours truly, Christine Joy A. Crisostomo, Chairperson, and our instructor in EDUC 322, Mr. Jonard P. Duterte. To properly end our webinar, our company would like to extend again our sincere gratitude to the participants who attended and the speakers who gave us and provided us significant insights and to the people who made this event successful. It is truly our honor to be your host for today's event, creating another history in taking steps towards understanding the significance of media literacy. And again, thank you very much, everyone. I am Christine Joy A. Crisostomo, and my co-host is William Magarzo. Leaving you this message: don't believe everything you read on the internet just because there's a picture with a quote next to it. Thank you again for joining us today, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Ang isang pangalan ng pinakaunang maswerteng pangalan na makuha ng 50 pesos load.
Okay, our first winner is...
Yes! Isa siyang Miss. Pinakaunang nanalo for our first nanalo ng 50 pesos load for raffle draw is Miss Tain or Teen Bodosa. Congratulations! Okay. Yes!
Now, partner, sa second winner na naman tayo.
Second winner, please, partner.
Sige. Eto na, partner,
Ito
kung
na.
sino tong maswerteng
Ito na.
taong to.
Ang pinakamaswerteng pangalawang nakakuha ng 50 pesos load ay si walang iba, si Miss, babae pa din to, si Miss Sarah V. Congratulations! Nakakuha ka ng 50 pesos from those.
Okay, for our last...
Kuha ba ng isa?
Okay, isa pa, partner, para enjoy yung viewers natin.
150, partner!
Okay, now, our last and final winner for this day.
Lalaki o babae, partner?
Babae.
Babae. So, ang pinakalas na nanalo ng 50 pesos load at pinakamaswerteng nanalo ng 50 pesos load ay walang iba, isang babae, Miss Miss Geraldine Guerrero. Congratulations! Ano, and yun, thank you so much for listening and have a nice day.
Always remember, think before you click. Thank you again for joining our discussion for today. And remember us, the Think. Goodbye and see you next time.
Bye!